Give it up now for Greg Tindale.
Hey, everybody. All right, so it was 2018, and I was packing up my basement to move again, and I found an old little mini DVD camcorder, the one that has like the little kind of like VHS tapes in it. And I hadn't seen this camcorder for probably a dozen years. It had just been sitting in a box in the basement. So, I was feeling nostalgic about the move, thinking about all the different neighborhoods I've lived in, all the people, that I've kind of left behind. So I was like, let's just take a look at it and see what's on this tape and, see what it is. So I open up the viewfinder and I hit play, and it starts with a video of a political rally. And I was like, well, I never went to this rally. I don't know what this is. And then I remembered that 12 years earlier, I had lent the camcorder to my neighbor. And he gave it back, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot, this isn't even my tape. So I was like, well, let me just see what else is on it. I'll fast forward to the end, and then I hit play. So I'm looking at the viewfinder, and it's suddenly filled with a giant penis. And now, I couldn't name whose penis it was by sight, but I could definitely see my neighbor's wife coming at it completely naked. So I slammed the viewfinder shut, and I was like, oh no. And my wife was in the corner, and she was organizing a little craft box, and she totally didn't see anything that happened. And I was like, oh my God, I found my friend's sex tape. And so, my friend, we'll call him Phil. He was my neighbor, and our friendship kind of had different energies. I was kind of more straight-laced. He was more punk. And when I moved away, we really didn't keep up the friendship. And I don't know, maybe I'm a bad friend for not keeping in touch. So it had been over a decade since I had seen this guy. And so now I had to figure out, what am I supposed to do with this tape? Because for any of you who grew up and went through puberty before the internet, there's a divide. If you went through puberty after the internet, naked people and sex is everywhere. You don't have to go and look and find it. It just exists on every screen in the world. I went through puberty before the internet, and the only way that you saw naked people was if you found it in a cardboard box, in magazines, in a forest next to an abandoned log cabin. You had to actually go find naked people. It just wasn't around anymore. So, but I'm grown up now, and there's an etiquette to this. And the first question that I thought was it impolite of my friend to record a sex tape on my borrowed camera? Should he have asked? And I never said specifically hey Phil, here's the camera, please don't record you and your wife having sex on it. So maybe that's on me that I didn't say that. It's that old saying, screw on my camera once, shame on you. Screw on my camera twice, shame on me. But yeah, so I had the sex tape. And then I started to think, wait a minute. He recorded a sex tape on my camera and gave it back to me with the tape in the camera. It's very possible he wanted me to see this tape a decade earlier, and me never talking about this tape might be the reason why we're not friends right now. And then I started to think about all my neighbors that I had stopped being friends with and all the people that I lost along the way, and I'm like, could I bring them all back by watching this sex tape? So my rationale was that if they did want me to see this sex tape, at the beginning, they would mention me, by name, or there'd be some reference to me at the very beginning. So the next day, I get, while I'm alone, I take out the camcorder, hit the viewfinder, and I press play from the beginning. And so there's not a lot of dialogue up front. The action escalates pretty quickly. And then there's even less dialogue because someone's mouth is full. So then I'm like, okay, they didn't mention me up front. That's fine. So now I'm like, but I have to be sure. I have to watch the entire thing. But I'm watching it on fast forward. This is a completely clinical viewing. I am getting no pleasure out of this. This is just like a doctor who has to see you naked to diagnose you. Like, I just have to get to the end to know. So I'm watching it, and then there's even less dialogue, because now the other person's mouth is full. And I'm just like powering through it to get to the end, while on the viewfinder, like they're powering through it to get to the end. Everyone got to the end. And then the screen went to blue, and it was over. And so I was like, all right, so no, they did not want me to see this, I guess. And so I told a friend who was younger than me and in the queer community and that I watched this tape, and he was just like, yeah, I watch my friends have sex all the time. And I'm like, you young people have a completely different perspective on sexual things. Like, I just don't understand it. And so then I told my wife, and I was told her, hey, I found this tape. I watched it. And she was like, well, you know what you have to do next. And I was like, what? And she was like, you have to return the tape to them. And I was like, oh, you're right, I do. I was like, the funniest way, I'm like living the story as it's happening. I'm like, the funniest way the story ends is I do have to give this tape back to them. I don't want to, but I have to. And so then I'm like, well, then what do you do? How do you tell somebody that you have their sex tape and you've watched it? And so, because it's weird, I haven't talked to this guy for a decade. So do you just like call him up and you're like, listen, Phil, I just watched you have sex on tape. I need to meet you in person and we need to talk about it. Like, how's your life been? So I'm not going to do that. And then I was thinking, well, I could just like take the tape and just like leave it at the front door of his house and not even say that I had it, and he'll just like wonder how it happened. But then I was like, but that's risky, because what if he knows that it was me that had it, and then he just thinks I've been watching his sex tape for like a decade? And I just, in a fit of rage, I was like, I can't watch my friend have sex anymore. I got to give this tape back. And then I just like dropped the tape on the porch. I think that's not going to do it. And then I was like, well, what if I leave it and say, hey, I found this tape. I think it might be yours, but I don't mention that there's anything sex on it. And then he might be like, oh, hey, kids, family movie night. Let's go like watch like this video. I was like, no, I have to let him know that there's something on this tape. So what I decided to do is I write a note. And on the note, it says, hey, Phil, I was going through my basement. I found this camcorder. This tape was yours. There's some sensitive material on it. I thought you might want it returned. Signed, Greg. So I put the note, I put the camcorder, I put the tape all into a box. I seal the box, and I decided I'm going to go drop it off on his front porch. So, I drive over to my old neighborhood, and I'm just, at this point I'm like reminiscing, I'm thinking about all the friends and all the different houses that I used to know. I'm now imagining all of them having sex. And so I park in front of his house, and I walk up on the stairs, and I set the box onto the staircase, and then I run back to my car, get in the car, and drive away. I was like, okay, I did it. I'm good. I've like fulfilled my end of the bargain. So then the next day, I get a Facebook message from my friend, and I'm going to read you the message right here. LOL! Exclamation point. Thanks for the blast from the past! Exclamation point. Everyone needs an unearthed sex tape in their lives! Exclamation point, exclamation point. I hope you enjoyed watching it! Exclamation point. Holy Jesus on a popsicle stick! Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. I am still laughing, period. And then he continues, well, I think we are going to make another sex tape tonight. Triple exclamation point. My wife was watching it and was like, damn, I looked good. LOL. We'll leave a copy on your porch with a note. More sensitive material. And it was really nice to connect with my friend again. And it's good to know that friendship exists beyond time, distance, and sex tapes. Thank you.